Captain Minseo Choi stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, humanity's first faster-than-light starship. 3 months had passed since Dr. Jun Ho Kim's discovery, and the world had changed. The underground laboratory in Seoul had become the center of the most ambitious project in human history. "Final systems check complete, Captain," reported engineer Sung-Min Yang from his station. The young man had worked directly with Dr. Kim to build the ship's quantum tear drive, a device now the size of a small room instead of a microwave oven. "All readings are green." Minseo nodded and turned to the third member of their crew. "Ms. Ko, are you ready for humanity's first diplomatic mission to another star system?" Diplomat Hye-won Ko adjusted her formal clothes and checked her translation devices one final time. "As ready as anyone can be when we don't know what we'll find out there." The Soul's Pride hung in space beyond Earth's moon. It was not a large ship by human standards, built more for speed and survival than comfort, but it carried the hopes of an entire species. Their destination was Tau Ceti, a star system 12 light-years from Earth. Conventional faster-than-light drives would take 6 months to make the journey. The quantum tear drive was supposed to do it in seconds. "All stations report ready," Minseo announced. "Beginning jump sequence." In the engine room, the quantum tear drive began to charge. Sung-Min watched the energy readings climb steadily. The mathematics behind the device still amazed him. Instead of bending space-time like other theoretical FTL systems, they were going to tear a hole straight through it. "Energy at 50%, he reported. "Acknowledged. Continue charging." The ship's sensors detected the familiar distortions that always appeared when the drive was active. Space around the Soul's Pride began to ripple, like water disturbed by a stone. But this time the effect was much stronger than anything they had created in the laboratory. "Energy at 80%. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual readings." "What kind of readings?" "The tear is bigger than we calculated, much bigger." Minseo felt a moment of doubt. They had tested the drive many times, but never at this scale. "Can you reduce it?" "Negative. Once the process starts, we have to complete it or risk a cascade failure." "Energy at 95%, Sung-Min announced. "Jump in 10 seconds. Minseo gripped her command chair. "All hands, prepare for quantum jump." "Jump in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark." Reality tore apart. The Soul's Pride didn't travel through space. It stepped outside of space entirely, existing for a brief moment in a realm where distance had no meaning. The crew felt nothing, saw nothing, experienced nothing. And then they were somewhere else. "Jump complete," Sung-Min reported, his voice shaky. We are in the Tau Ceti system." Through the ship's windows, they could see an alien sun surrounded by unfamiliar planets. They had traveled 12 light-years in 14 seconds, but their arrival had not gone unnoticed. 3 space stations orbited one of Tau Ceti's planets, structures that were clearly not built by human hands. They were beautiful, made of what looked like crystal and metal woven together in impossible patterns. But as the Soul's Pride appeared, all 3 stations suddenly went dark. "Captain," Hye-won said, studying her instruments, "I'm detecting massive energy surges from those stations. They're not responding to our communication attempts." "Are they damaged?" "I think we damaged them. The energy readings suggest complete system failures." Minseo stared at the alien structures, humanity's first contact with another intelligent species, and they had started by accidentally destroying their technology. "Sung-Min, what happened when we jumped?" The engineer was studying the readings from their arrival. "Captain, the quantum tear we created was enormous, much larger than anything we've ever generated. The energy discharge when we exited..." He paused. "It was like setting off a bomb made of pure gravitational force." Before anyone could respond, new contacts appeared on their sensors. Ships were approaching from the direction of the planets. They moved with a grace that human ships could never match, sliding through space without visible engines or exhaust. "Alien vessels approaching," reported Hye-won. 5 ships, they're surrounding us." The alien ships were as beautiful as the stations, but Minseo could tell they were military vessels. They moved with purpose, forming a perfect sphere around the Soul's Pride. Then the communication system crackled to life. The voice that spoke was clearly not human. It sounded like wind through crystal, musical but cold. The translation devices worked frantically to convert the words. Unknown vessel. You have committed an act of destruction against the Viridian Collective. Explain your presence and your weapons. Minseo stood up, straightening her uniform. This is Captain Minseo Choi of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride. We come in peace. We did not intend to cause any damage. Your arrival has disabled 3 research stations and created dangerous instabilities throughout our system. Our scientists report that you have torn holes in space-time itself. What manner of beings are you? Haiwan stepped forward. We are humans from the planet Earth. We have recently developed faster-than-light travel. This is our first journey to another star system. We came seeking peaceful contact. There was a long silence. When the alien voice returned, it sounded troubled. You say this is your first journey, your first use of this weapon? It's not a weapon, Minseo protested. It's a drive system, a way to travel between stars. Show us. I'm sorry? Demonstrate this drive. Prove that it is not a weapon designed to destroy our stations. Minseo looked at Sung Min, who shook his head frantically. Captain, we shouldn't jump again so soon. The drive needs time to cool down, and we haven't studied the effects of our first jump. But before Minseo could respond, the alien voice spoke again. If you do not demonstrate your intentions, we will assume you are hostile. The alien ships moved closer. Weapons that looked like focused starlight began to glow along their hulls. Sungmin, Minseo said quietly, can you make a small jump? Something harmless? I can try. Let me program a short hop to the edge of the system. Do it. Sungmin's hands flew over his controls. He programmed the smallest jump possible, barely a light minute from their current position. This should be safe, he muttered. Just a tiny tear. He activated the drive. Once again, reality split apart. The Soul's Pride vanished and reappeared at the edge of the Tau Ceti system. But even this small jump created effects that horrified their alien observers. The quantum tear that formed lasted longer than expected. Instead of healing immediately, it remained open for nearly 30 seconds, creating a wound in space-time that pulled at everything nearby. One of the system's smaller moons was caught in the gravitational distortion. Its orbit shifted, tidal forces began tearing at its surface. On the Viridian colony world below, seismic sensors detected the gravitational waves from the human ship's jump. Earthquakes began as the planet's crust responded to the warping of space-time. Emergency. Broadcasts filled the airwaves as millions of Viridians fled their cities. The alien ships found the Soul's Pride within minutes. This time, their weapons were fully charged. You have attacked our colony world, the crystal voice said, now filled with anger. You have destabilized our moon. You wound the universe itself and call it peaceful exploration. Minseo felt sick. We didn't know. We didn't understand the effects would be so strong. Your ignorance is not an excuse. You wield power that threatens entire star systems. Our scientists are studying the damage you have caused. The tears you create in space-time are not healing properly. They spread. They grow. They threaten the stability of our entire region of space. Haiwan tried to salvage the situation. Please, let us help repair the damage. We can work together to understand this technology. No. You will leave our space immediately, and you will send a message to your species. The Galactic Council will hear of this. They will decide what must be done about beings who treat the universe as a weapon. The Galactic Council? Representatives of 47 species who work together to maintain peace and stability among the stars. They will not look kindly upon a new species that threatens the very fabric of reality. The alien ships escorted the Soul's Pride to the edge of Viridian space. As they prepared to leave, Sungmin detected something troubling in his instruments. Captain, I'm still reading quantum distortions from our jump points. The tears we created, they're not fully healing, and they seem to be affecting the space around them. Minseo studied the readings. Where they had jumped, space-time remained scarred. The wounds were small, but they were persistent. And according to the sensors, they were slowly growing. How long before they closed naturally? I don't know. Maybe years. Maybe never. The journey back to Earth took longer than expected. The quantum tear drive was running at reduced power to minimize the damage from their jumps. But even so, each jump left behind the same persistent wounds in space-time. As they approached the Sol system, they received urgent communications from Earth. Dr. Junho Kim's voice crackled over the radio. Captain Choi, you need to see this. We've been monitoring space-time disturbances across multiple star systems. They started appearing right after your first jump to Tau Ceti. What kind of disturbances? Quantum tears, dozens of them. Dr. Junho Kim stared at the numbers on his computer screen. Something was wrong. The quantum equations he had been working on for 3 years should not produce these results. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The numbers were still there, mocking him. Yu-Jin, come look at this, he called to his partner across the underground laboratory. Dr. Yu-Jin Park pushed her chair back from her own desk and walked over. The Seoul research facility was buried 50 meters below ground, hidden from the world above. Only 12 people knew it existed. What is it now? Yu-Jin asked, adjusting her glasses. She had worked with Junho for 5 years. She knew that tone in his voice. It meant he had found something that would keep them both awake for days. Look at these calculations. I was trying to solve the quantum entanglement problem again. You know, the one where particles stay connected no matter how far apart they are. Junho pointed at the screen. But the math is showing something else. Entirely. Yu-Jin leaned closer. The equations filled the monitor, line after line of complex mathematics. But she could see what had caught Junho's attention. These energy readings, they're impossible. That's what I thought too. But I checked them 6 times. The math is correct. Junho stood up and began pacing. It was a habit he had when his mind was racing. According to this, we don't need to bend space-time to travel faster than light. We can tear it. Tear it? Yu-Jin sat down in Junho's chair, studying the screen more carefully. That sounds dangerous. Everything worthwhile is dangerous, Junho replied. He walked to the whiteboard on the wall and began drawing diagrams. Look, every other theory about faster-than-light travel talks about warping space, creating bubbles, or sliding through dimensions. They all try to work with the universe's rules. And you want to break the rules instead? Not break them. Use them differently. Junho drew 2 points on the board and connected them with a curved line. This is how everyone else thinks about FTL travel. Bend space so the distance becomes shorter. Then he drew a straight line that seemed to cut right through the curved space. This is what the math is telling me we can do. Create a hole. A tear. Go straight through. Yu-Jin was quiet for a long moment. She understood theoretical physics as well as anyone on Earth. What Junho was suggesting should be impossible. But the equations on the screen didn't lie. The energy requirements would be enormous. Actually, no, that's the beautiful part. Junho's eyes were bright with excitement. Creating the tear takes less energy than any other FTL method we've theorized. The universe wants to be torn. We just need to know where to cut. And you think you know where? I think I know how to find out. 3 days later, they had built their first test device. It was small, no bigger than a microwave oven, sitting on a metal table in the corner of the lab. Thick cables connected it to the facility's power grid. Yu-Jin had insisted on running the test at night when fewer people were in the building above them. Are you sure about the safety protocols? She asked for the 5th time. As sure as I can be when we're attempting something that's never been done before, Junho replied. He was making final adjustments to the device's settings. The tear will only exist for a microsecond, and it will be smaller than an atom. And if it doesn't close? Junho paused his work. Then we'll have bigger problems than failing the experiment. The test object was a single photon, a particle of light. Their plan was simple. Create a tiny tear in space-time, send the photon through it and measure where it came out. If the theory was correct, the photon would appear on the other side of the lab instantly. Beginning test sequence, Yu-Jin announced, though they were the only 2 people in the room. She started the recording equipment and checked the sensors. they had placed around the lab. Junho's finger hovered over the activation button. Ready. As ready as anyone can be for potentially tearing a hole in reality. He pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every sensor in the lab began screaming warnings. The lights flickered. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Yujin felt a strange pressure in her ears like being deep underwater. And then it was over. The sensors fell silent. The lights steadied. But the readings on their instruments told an incredible story. It worked, Yujin whispered, staring at the data. The photon appeared on the other side of the lab, instantly. No travel time at all. But Junho was looking at different readings. Yujin, look at the energy signature. Look at what we left. Behind. She turned to see what he was pointing at. The space where they had created the tear was still showing unusual readings. Gravity was slightly stronger there. The electromagnetic field was distorted. It was as if they had wounded reality itself, and the wound was taking time to heal. How long will it last, she asked. I don't know. The math doesn't cover this part. They spent the next week running more tests, each time creating larger tiers that lasted longer. By the end of the week, they could send objects the size of a coin from one end of the lab to the other. Each successful test left behind the same strange distortions, like scars in space-time. Commander Bo-Ram Lee arrived at the facility on a Thursday morning. She wore the dark blue uniform of the Earth Defense Force, and her expression was serious. Junho and Yujin had been expecting this visit ever since their energy readings had started showing up on military sensors around the world. Doctors, she said, shaking their hands formally. I'm here to discuss your recent experiments. They led her to the lab and showed her their work. Commander Lee listened without comment as they explained the theory and demonstrated the device. When they finished, she stood quietly for several minutes studying the readings from their latest test. You realize what this means, she finally said. If this technology can be scaled up, we could travel to other star systems in seconds instead of years. That's the theory, Junho replied. But we're still learning how it works. And these distortions? Commander Lee pointed at the sensor readings showing the lingering effects of their tears. Are they dangerous? We don't know yet, Yujin admitted. They seem to be healing on their own, but slowly. Commander Lee nodded. I need you to prepare a full report. Everything you've learned, everything you suspect, and everything you're worried about. The President will want to see this within the week. What happens then? Junho asked. Then we decide whether humanity is ready to tear holes in the universe. After Commander Lee left, Yujin and Junho returned to their work. But something had changed. The excitement of discovery was now mixed with worry. They had created something powerful, something that could change everything. But they were beginning to understand that power always came with a price. That night, as they prepared to leave the lab, Yujin stopped at the latest test site. The tier they had created that afternoon was completely invisible to the naked eye, but their instruments could still detect its presence, a tiny wound in reality that refused to fully heal. Do you ever wonder if we should stop? She asked Junho. Every day, he replied. But then I think about what this could mean for humanity. We could explore the galaxy. We could find other, intelligent life. We could become more than just one species trapped on one planet. And if we destroy ourselves in the process? Junho looked at the readings one more time. Then at least we'll have tried to reach for something greater. Neither of them knew that their experiments had already been detected by others. Far from Earth, in star systems humanity had never seen, ancient monitoring stations had recorded the energy signatures of their work. Beings whose names humans could not pronounce were studying the data with growing alarm. The tiers in space-time that seemed so small and harmless to human eyes appeared very different to species who had been studying the universe for millions of years. To them, the human experiments looked like the work of children playing with weapons they could not understand. And in the depths of space, messages were already being sent. Warnings were being issued. The Galactic Council was being informed that Something new and potentially dangerous had emerged from the small blue planet in the Sol system. Humanity's first step toward the stars had been noticed, and not everyone was happy about it. The Great Assembly Hall on Concordia had seen many historic moments in its 1,000-year existence. Built from living crystal that grew stronger with age, it had hosted peace treaties, trade agreements, and scientific breakthroughs that shaped galactic civilization. But it had never seen anything like the emergency session that was beginning now. Ambassador Vextar of the Ethereal Dominion stood at the center of the hall, his ancient form shimmering with barely controlled energy. Around him, representatives from 47 different species filled seats arranged in concentric circles. Each delegation had arrived with the same urgent message: something was wrong with the universe itself. Fellow beings of the Council, Vextar began, his voice carrying the weight of millions of years. We face a threat unlike any in recorded history. 3 star systems have reported severe damage to the fundamental structure of space-time. The perpetrators are a new species calling themselves humans from a system they name Sol. The crystal walls of the hall displayed images of the damage. Quantum tears scarred the space around Tau Ceti like wounds that refused to heal. Energy readings showed distortion spreading outward like cracks in glass. Each image drew gasps of horror from the assembled delegates. Dr. Wu Sung Han sat in the small section reserved for humanity. He was Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council, a physicist who had spent his life dreaming of this moment. But his dreams had never included being put on trial for crimes his species didn't understand they had committed. The evidence is clear, continued Vextar. These humans have developed a form of faster-than-light travel that literally tears holes in reality. They wound the universe and call it exploration. A delegate from the crystalline hierarchy rose to speak. Zul'Madan was known throughout the galaxy as perhaps the greatest physicist of the age. His crystal body reflected the hall's light in patterns that conveyed complex mathematical concepts. I have studied the quantum signatures left by human technology, he said, his voice like wind chimes in a storm. What they have created is not transportation, it is destruction. Each time they activate their drive, they create microscopic black holes that should collapse instantly. But instead of following natural law, these holes tear openings in spacetime itself. The display changed to show mathematical models. Dr. Han watched in growing horror as the equations predicted the spread of quantum damage across entire galactic regions. The tears are not random, Zul'Madan continued. They follow predictable patterns, creating what I call cascade points where reality becomes increasingly unstable. If this technology continues to be used, we could see the collapse of spacetime across hundreds of star systems. Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembly. Several delegates from species near human space began demanding immediate military action. Dr. Han stood up, his legs shaky with nervousness. May I speak? The hall fell silent. Vextar nodded slowly. The human representative may address the council. Thank you. Han walked to the center of the hall, feeling the weight of countless alien eyes upon him. I want to make something clear. We did not intend to cause any damage. Our scientists discovered this technology by accident while studying quantum mechanics. We thought we had found a safe way to travel between stars. Safe? The voice belonged to Morden of the Viridian Collective, whose stations had been the first victims of human technology. Your safe travel has forced the evacuation of 3 of our colony worlds. The quantum distortions you created continue to grow. Our scientists estimate it will take centuries for the damage to heal, if it ever does. Han pulled out a small device from his pocket. May I demonstrate how our technology works? I believe there has been a misunderstanding about our intentions. Absolutely not, Vextar said immediately. We will not allow you to create more damage in this sacred place. It's only a holographic projection, Han explained. No actual quantum effects. After a moment of discussion among the senior delegates, permission was granted. Han activated his device, and a 3-dimensional image appeared in the air above the assembly. The image showed spacetime as a sheet of fabric. Conventional FTL drives were represented by gentle curves in the fabric, creating shortcuts without breaking anything. But the human drive was different. It showed a knife cutting straight through the fabric, creating a direct path from point to point. This is how we understand our technology, Han explained. We don't bend space-time like other FTL systems. We create temporary openings that close immediately after use. The effect of his demonstration was not what he had hoped. Instead of understanding, he saw terror in the alien faces around him. Several delegates left their seats and moved away from the projection. He treats the destruction of reality as routine operation, whispered one delegate to another. They view the universe as something to be cut and torn, said a third. Zul'Madan's crystal body flashed with urgent patterns. Human representative, do you understand what you have just shown us? Your species has weaponized the fundamental forces that hold reality together. To you, the complete destruction and reconstruction of local spacetime is merely a transportation method. Han realized his demonstration had made things worse. But it works. We've made dozens of jumps without major problems. Without major problems? Mordoon stood up, his musical voice filled with anger. Your first interstellar jump disabled 3 of our research stations and destabilized an entire moon. Your second jump caused earthquakes on our colony world and created gravitational anomalies that persist to this day. We're learning to control it better, Han protested. Our latest jumps have been much more precise. That is precisely what terrifies us, Vextar said quietly. You are becoming more skilled at wounding the universe. Each improvement in your technology makes you more dangerous, not less. The hall's display changed again, showing a map of local space. Red marks indicated every location where quantum tears had been detected. Han was shocked to see that there were far more marks than human ships had visited. We have detected over 300 quantum disturbances in the past month, Zul'Madan announced. Most are in systems humans have never reached. Your technology appears to create sympathetic resonances across vast distances. Each tear you create weakens space-time in other locations. That's impossible, Han said. But even as he spoke, he remembered Dr. Junho Kim's reports about quantum disturbances appearing in unexpected places. Is it? Vextar asked. Or is it simply another aspect of your species' dangerous ignorance? You have discovered fire and are surprised when it spreads beyond your control. A delegate from the Warsinger Alliance rose to speak. The insectoid being's carapace gleamed with battle scars and its voice carried the authority of countless victories. The ethereal dominion speaks of danger and ignorance, it clicked. But I see opportunity. This human technology could revolutionize warfare. Imagine creating quantum tears inside enemy ships, or destabilizing entire star systems from light years away. Several other military-focused species murmured agreement. Han felt sick as he realized his species' discovery was being viewed as the ultimate weapon. Which brings us to the real question, Vextar said. What do we do about the humans? The debate that followed was intense. Some species demanded immediate military action to prevent humans from using their technology further. Others wanted to quarantine the Sol system until the damage could be assessed. A few suggested trying to work with humanity to develop safer applications, but it was Zul'Madan who asked the question that silenced the hall. What if they are not the only ones? The physicist's crystal body dimmed as he shared his greatest fear. I have been studying the quantum signatures of human technology for weeks. The pattern is familiar. Too familiar. I believe other species are attempting to duplicate their methods. The implications hit the assembly like a physical blow. If multiple civilizations started tearing holes in space-time, the cumulative damage could be catastrophic. The Dominion has been monitoring quantum disturbances throughout our space, Vextar admitted reluctantly. We have detected at least 3 instances of technology similar to the human drive. All ended in failure, but the attempts created even more damage than successful human jumps. Han realized the situation was spiraling beyond anything Earth had imagined. It wasn't just about humanity anymore. Their discovery had triggered a galactic arms race with the universe itself as the battlefield. There is something else, Vextar continued, his ancient voice heavy with secrets. Something the Council must know if we are to understand the true scope of this crisis. The hall held its breath. The ethereal dominion is older than any other civilization in this galaxy. We have existed for over 10 million years, watching species rise and fall. Our own faster-than-light technology has served us faithfully throughout that time. But it is failing. Shocked murmurs filled the hall. The ethereal dominion's FTL drives were considered the most advanced and reliable in the galaxy. Our ships can no longer make the journeys they once could. Our technology, which once seemed eternal, is breaking down. We had begun to fear that we would be trapped in our home systems, cut off from the galaxy we helped build. Vexitar's form flickered with what might have been hope or desperation. Admiral Kyung-ho Bae stood on the bridge of the battleship Incheon Guardian, watching the alien fleet grow larger on his tactical display. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council's emergency session, and the galaxy had split into armed camps. 43 ships from 12 different species hung in space just outside Earth's solar system, close enough to be a threat but far enough away to claim they were only observing. Admiral, incoming message from the Viridian blockade fleet, reported his communications officer. They're demanding we surrender all quantum tier technology and submit to protective custody. Same response as yesterday, Bae replied calmly. Tell them we decline. Behind him, Dr. So-ra Kim worked at a specialized station that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Jun-ho Kim's daughter had inherited her father's genius for quantum mechanics, but she had focused on defensive applications of the technology that was tearing the galaxy apart. Admiral, I'm reading quantum distortions from the Rigel system again, she reported. Someone else is trying to replicate our drive. Bae nodded grimly. The Preservation Coalition, led by the Viridians, claimed they wanted to ban quantum tier technology forever. But intelligence reports suggested at least 5 coalition members were secretly trying to develop their own versions. Meanwhile, the Progress Alliance was openly racing to build reality-breaking weapons based on human discoveries. What's the damage assessment this time? Bae asked. So-ra studied her instruments. The quantum sensors she had developed could detect reality distortions from hundreds of light years away. Massive cascade failure. Whoever tried to activate their drive just tore a hole the size of a small moon. The quantum damage is spreading through the Rigel system like a virus. Casualties? Unknown. But there were 3 inhabited planets in the affected area. Bae closed his eyes for a moment. Every failed attempt to copy human technology created more death and destruction. The galaxy was trying to learn humanity's secrets through trial and error, and each error cost thousands of lives. Sir, his tactical officer announced. New contacts entering the system. It's the Busan's Courage returning from patrol. Captain Young Hee-oh's ship materialized out of a quantum tear with the precision that only human pilots had managed to achieve. Unlike the crude attempts by other species, human jumps were becoming cleaner and more controlled with each passing month. Busan's Courage to Incheon Guardian. Oh's voice crackled over the radio. We have a problem. The Dominion fleet at Alpha Centauri is moving toward Earth. ETA 6 hours. Bae felt his stomach tighten. The ethereal Dominion had been humanity's most unpredictable neighbor. Sometimes they seemed friendly, offering to trade knowledge for quantum technology. Other times they acted like humanity was a threat that needed to be eliminated. How many ships? He asked. 12 heavy cruisers and a flagship I've never seen before. Admiral, it's huge, bigger than anything in our database. Across the galaxy, the arms race was accelerating. In the Vega system, Progress Alliance scientists activated their latest prototype quantum drive. Unlike the careful controlled tiers that human ships created, their attempt was based on incomplete data and flawed understanding. The result was catastrophic. Instead of creating a small temporary opening in space-time, their drive ripped a massive wound that refused to close. The tier stretched across 3 light minutes of space, creating gravitational anomalies that pulled at everything nearby. Dr. Talmeth, the Alliance's chief scientist, watched in horror as his space station was sucked into the quantum rift. Emergency shutdown, he screamed. Shut everything down. But it was too late. The tier had become self-sustaining, feeding on the energy of nearby matter and growing larger by the minute. Within hours, It had consumed 2 mining asteroids and was pulling at the system's 4th planet. The distress signals reached Earth. 12 hours later, reporter Dae-Hyun Jung, embedded with the Earth Defense Force, broadcast the news to a terrified human population. This is Dae-Hyun Jung, reporting from Earth Defense Command. We have confirmed reports of a quantum cascade failure in the Vega system. Early estimates suggest the unstable tear could consume the entire system within days. This marks the 7th major disaster caused by attempts to replicate human faster-than-light technology. President Na Young-seo watched the broadcast from her office in Seoul. Through the window she could see the lights of the city below, people going about their lives while the galaxy burned around them. Humanity had become the most hated and feared species in known space, all because they had learned to travel between the stars. "Ma'am," her aide announced, "Admiral Bay is requesting permission to attempt a rescue mission to Vega." SEO turned from the window. "A rescue mission? How?" "The Admiral believes human quantum technology might be able to stabilize the tear. We're the only species that can safely navigate near quantum distortions." It was true. While other species' ships were torn apart by the reality-warping effects of quantum tears, human vessels seemed to handle them naturally. Human pilots could fly through distorted space that would destroy any other ship. "What's the risk to our people?" "Hi. But Admiral Bay says Captain O has volunteered for the mission." CO made her decision. "Approved. But tell the Admiral this is a humanitarian mission. We're not doing this to help the Alliance with their weapons program." 3 hours later, the Busan's Courage jumped toward the Vega system. Captain O's ship was the most advanced vessel in the human fleet, equipped with the latest quantum stabilization technology that Sora Kim had developed. Approaching the quantum distortion, O reported as her ship dropped out of FTL near the disaster zone. "I can see the tear from here. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time." The quantum rift stretched across space like a wound filled with stars. Reality bent and twisted around its edges, creating optical illusions that hurt to look at directly. But O could also see ships trapped in the distortion field, their crews still alive but unable to escape. "Busan's Courage, this is Admiral Talvex of the Progress Alliance fleet," came a transmission. "We order you to withdraw immediately. This is Alliance territory." "Admiral, this is Captain O of the Earth Defense Force. We're here on a humanitarian mission to rescue survivors. You created this disaster with your dangerous technology. We do not need your help." O ignored the alien admiral and focused on her mission. Using precise quantum tears, she began creating stable pathways through the distorted space. It was like performing surgery on reality itself, requiring split-second timing and perfect understanding of how space-time behaved when wounded. "First rescue ship, you are clear to approach," she announced after creating a safe corridor. "Follow my quantum trail exactly. Any deviation will put you in the distortion field." One by one, trapped ships followed O's lead through the twisted space, but each rescue required her to make increasingly dangerous jumps, creating quantum tears closer and closer to the main rift. The interaction between her controlled tears and the massive distortion was creating unpredictable effects. "Captain," her engineer warned, "the quantum feedback is overloading our systems. One more jump and we might not be able to get out ourselves." O looked at her tactical display. There was still one ship trapped near the center of the distortion, a research vessel with 200 scientists aboard. "Negative, we're not leaving anyone behind." She programmed the most precise jump of her career, creating a quantum tear that would take her ship directly through the heart of the rift. The mathematics said it was impossible. The energy requirements said it should destroy her ship. But O had learned something that the galaxy's greatest scientists hadn't. Reality could be convinced to cooperate if you asked politely. The Busan's Courage vanished into a quantum tear and reappeared inside the main distortion. Space around the ship writhed like a living thing. Gravity pointed in 6 directions at once. Time moved at different rates in different parts of the ship. "I have visual on the research vessel," O reported, her voice strained by the effort of maintaining communications through distorted space-time. attempting rescue. What happened next would be studied by physicists for decades. O created a quantum tear directly through a black hole, a maneuver that violated every known law of physics. But instead of destroying both ships, the tear somehow stabilized the entire distortion field. "This is impossible," breathed Dr. Talmeth, watching from his command ship. "She's flying through quantum distortions like they were normal space. How are humans doing this?" The answer was something the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Humans didn't just use quantum tear technology. They had an intuitive grasp of how reality worked when it was broken. They could navigate distorted space-time because they thought like the universe itself when it was wounded and healing. O's rescue mission succeeded, but at a cost. The Busan's courage emerged from the quantum rift with her hull scarred by exposure to raw space-time. The ship's quantum sensors showed damage that would take months to repair, but more importantly, the rescue had been broadcast throughout the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as humans fearlessly entered the kind of quantum distortion that would destroy any other ship. They saw human technology not just creating the tears that terrified them, but healing them as well. 1 year had passed since humanity's first contact with alien civilization, and the galaxy looked very different. Dr. Jun-Ho Kim stood in his new laboratory on Concordia Station, working alongside beings he could never have imagined a year ago. The quantum war that everyone had feared never happened, but something more complex had taken its place. "The quantum resonance patterns are stabilizing," announced his research partner, a crystalline being named Morthak whose body contained living mathematics. "Your human approach to reality manipulation continues to surprise us." Jun-Ho smiled, still amazed that he was conducting research with alien scientists. The breakthrough had come when humanity proved they could not only create quantum tears, but also heal them. The galaxy had stopped trying to destroy human technology and started trying to understand it. "Dr. Kim," called his assistant from across the laboratory. "Commander Lee's expedition is reporting in from the Vega system." Commander Yoonji Lee had become humanity's most experienced deep space explorer. Her ship, the Daegu Pioneer, was equipped with the most advanced quantum sensors ever built, capable of detecting reality distortions from thousands of light years away. "This is Commander Lee." Her voice crackled through the communication system. "We've reached the ruins in the Vega system. Dr. Kim, you need to see this." The holographic display activated, showing images from Lee's expedition. What she had discovered changed everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. "These structures predate any known civilization by millions of years," Lee reported. "But that's not the strangest part. Watch this." The display showed Lee's team approaching one of the ancient ruins. As their ship created a small quantum tear for maneuvering, the alien structure suddenly came to life. Lights appeared along its surface in patterns that matched the quantum distortion exactly. "The ruins respond to our drive technology," Lee continued. "Not just any quantum manipulation, specifically to our reality-tearing method. It's like they were built to recognize our particular approach to FTL travel." Dr. Kim stared at the images in amazement. "Are you saying these ruins were built by beings who use technology similar to ours?" "More than similar. Identical. Dr. Kim, I think we found evidence that the universe itself might be artificial." The implications were staggering. If an ancient civilization had built the universe using the same reality manipulation techniques that humans had discovered, then humanity's dangerous technology wasn't an accident. It was inheritance. On Earth, Ambassador Eugene Huang was preparing for the most important diplomatic presentation in human history. The Galactic Council had reconvened to discuss Commander Lee's discoveries, and for the first time, humanity would be speaking as equals rather than defendants. "Are you ready for this?" asked President Na Young-seo as they reviewed the presentation. "One final time." "As ready as anyone can be to explain that the universe might be a construction project," Eugene replied with a nervous laugh. The council chambers on Concordia had been modified to accommodate new members. The Space-Time Engineering Corps, a joint organization of human and alien scientists, now had permanent seats alongside the traditional species representatives. Dr. Kim's research had shown that quantum tier technology could be used safely when combined with alien safety protocols. Ambassador Vextar of the Ethereal Dominion opened the session with an announcement that shocked everyone present. "Fellow beings of the Council," he said, his ancient form flickering with patterns of light that conveyed complex emotions. "It is time to reveal the truth about our purpose in this galaxy. The Ethereal Dominion has existed for 10 million years, but we were not the first intelligent species to arise. We were created." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Vextar had never spoken of his people's origins before. "The beings who built this region of space needed caretakers," he continued. "Servants who could maintain the delicate balance of their construction while they moved on to greater projects. We have spent millions of years keeping the universe stable, preventing the reality distortions that could unravel their work." He paused, looking directly at the human delegation. "But our technology was always meant to be temporary, a stopgap measure until the inheritors arrived." Ambassador Yu Jin stood to address the council. "The Ethereal Dominion speaks of inheritors. Recent discoveries suggest that humanity's quantum tier technology is not a new development, but a rediscovery of ancient principles." The chamber's May display showed images from Commander Lee's expedition. Ancient ruins scattered across a dozen star systems, all responding to human quantum manipulation. Structures that had been dormant for millions of years suddenly coming to life when exposed to reality-tearing technology. "We believe these ruins are maintenance stations," Yujin explained, "infrastructure left behind by the universe builders to allow their successors to repair and modify the fundamental structure of reality itself." Dr. Zulmadan of the Crystalline Hierarchy, the galaxy's most respected physicist, had been studying the human data for months. His analysis supported the incredible theory. "The quantum signatures match perfectly," he announced. "Human faster-than-light technology operates on the same principles used to construct local space-time itself. Every quantum tier humans create is essentially a maintenance access point into the universe's underlying architecture." The revelation changed everything. Humanity wasn't dangerous. They were cosmic engineers, inheriting tools that had been waiting for millions of years. But with inheritance came responsibility. Captain Tae Ho-yoon commanded the New Soul, the first ship built through cooperation between human and alien technology. His crew included beings from 12 different species, all working together to explore and maintain the universe's hidden infrastructure. "Captain," reported his chief engineer In-Soo Shin, "we're approaching another maintenance complex in the Arcturus system. The quantum resonance is stronger than anything we've seen before." Through the viewports they could see a structure that dwarfed entire planets. It hung in space like a metallic spider web, its strands reaching across light years. As the New Soul approached, the structure began to respond to their quantum drive signatures. "Incredible," breathed Kyle Thara, their Viridian science officer. "The power sources are still active after millions of years. This installation could manipulate space-time across entire galactic regions." In-Soo worked alongside Mordek, an alien engineer whose species had spent thousands of years perfecting safety protocols. Together, they had learned to combine human intuition with alien caution, creating quantum manipulation techniques that were both powerful and controlled. "The interface is responding to our presence," In-Soo reported. "I think it's trying to download information about local space-time conditions. Can we access it safely?" "With Mordek monitoring the safety systems, yes. But Captain, if this is what I think it is, we're about to become responsible for maintaining the structural integrity of several hundred star systems." Captain Yoon made the decision that would define humanity's role in the galaxy. "Do it. It's time we started taking care of the universe that gave us life." The activation of the Arcturus complex sent quantum signals across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, ancient monitoring systems came online for the first time in millions of years. The universe was waking up, recognizing that its inheritors had finally arrived, but not everyone was happy with humanity's new role. On the edge of Dominion space, a rebel faction led by Vector the Destroyer refused to accept that humans were the chosen inheritors of cosmic power. "They are children playing with forces beyond their understanding," Vector declared to his followers. The universe builders would never have chosen such a young, violent species to inherit their tools. His fleet of stolen ships moved toward the Sol system, intent on destroying humanity before they could fully claim their inheritance. But what Vector didn't understand was that the universe itself would defend its caretakers. As his ships approached Earth's solar system, they encountered something impossible. Space-time itself began to resist their movement. Their weapons malfunctioned. Their life support systems failed. The quantum tiers they created to power their ships turned against them, trapping them in dimensional loops that prevented any forward progress. This is impossible. Vector raged as his flagship was caught in a reality distortion that held it motionless. Space does not take sides, but it did. The universe had been waiting millions of years for species capable of maintaining its structure. It would not allow them to be destroyed by those who saw power as something to be hoarded rather than shared. Back on Earth, young engineer In-Soo Shin worked in the quantum laboratory beneath Sol, the same place where Dr. Kim had made his original discovery. But now he wasn't alone. Alien partners from a dozen species worked alongside human scientists, each contributing their knowledge to the growing understanding of reality engineering. The latest reports from the maintenance complexes are encouraging, In-Soo told his research partner, a being whose name humans couldn't pronounce but who preferred to be called Echo. We've successfully repaired quantum damage in 15 star systems. Echo's energy patterns flickered with what humans had learned to recognize as contentment. Your species has an intuitive understanding of how broken reality wants to heal itself.